Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey, this is Emily. I know we haven't spoken in a while. Sorry about that. College has just been kind of kicking my ass. Anyway, I heard you took a gap year? That's pretty cool. How's that going for you? I really hope you're doing okay, man. Call me sometime. I'd love to catch up. I want to hear everything.
I've been back to school for about a month now, and it's weird being back for all sorts of reasons, but I think it's important that I am. Reflecting on the past year, it's incredible to see how much I've grown as a person. Not all of it was easy, obviously, but I'm proud of the person I'm becoming, the person I want to be, and I'm thankful for everything I learned along the way and all the people I met. Growing up, I feel like there's this pressure to have everything figured out. We all know the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? For some people, it's easy, and for me, it wasn't. But I know at 18 years old, it's not entirely responsible for people to ask us to make a decision that will impact the rest of our lives. My freshman year, I was a digital media production major. I wanted to make documentaries, or movies, or short films, or YouTube videos, content of some sort, and I thought that getting a college degree for media production was the right route, was the correct path for me. After an eventful second semester, I didn't feel so strongly anymore, and I decided to take a gap year. I feel like there's a lot of stigma around gap years. A lot of people take them and then never come back, but they never really admit to themselves that they fully dropped out, while other people look at it as a way to backpack Europe and meet people 1,000 times more interesting than you or I could ever dream of being. I can't say one way or the other. I did come back and I didn't backpack Europe, but I did meet people more interesting than I am. All I can do is tell you about my experience. I took a gap year for 3 reasons. I wanted to meet new people, I wanted to do new things, and I wanted to figure out who I am. The big thing for me was to get out of my comfort zone. And at the start of it, I didn't know what I would find, but I knew I had to start somewhere. After Austin, I started to slow down. I got a full-time job, I started saving more, and I had less time to spend on my creative interests and less time to spend with my friends. Slowing down felt jarring at first. I went from constant motion, highways, airports, new faces, to long shifts under fluorescent lights and long drives home. But I think this was a major moment for me. I had spent so long chasing the next adventure that I had lost sight of what mattered. I forgot what I set out to do. I wanted to meet new people, do new things, and figure out who I am. And strangely, I found just as much of that on the road as I did in the stillness that followed. It was here where I had a lot of time to reflect. I had a lot of time to myself where I could think. It was during this I realized something important. I think I know who I want to be when I grow up. I realized then I should go back to school. I think if I didn't this year, I probably never would have. So I re-enrolled, not as a digital media production major, but as a biology major. In Austin, Texas, I realized something. I love this. I love creating videos, I love writing, I love editing, I love making my magazine. But despite that, I struggled to envision a world where this is my livelihood. And that was something I've wrestled with for a really long time. Even pressing submit on the re-enrollment form was pretty surreal. Part of me felt like I was giving up on a dream, another part felt like I was finally exhaling, like I'd been holding my breath for a year without realizing it. I was invited to go on a road trip to Tennessee in July. I didn't know it then, but this would be the last trip of my gap year. I think this trip was disappointing for the most part. Sure, I learned more about myself, I learned what I do and do not like about vacations, I got to spend time with someone I love, and I even saw this cool bear, but Tennessee didn't feel like this grand finale I had imagined. It wasn't cinematic, it wasn't very transformative. If anything, it felt messy, a little stressful, and unfinished. The first day we were there, we had planned a short 2-mile hike to a waterfall. Long story short, my girlfriend and I didn't feel like we could make it all the way, so we turned around about a mile in. Nothing significant happened on the walk back, and if I'm honest, it was the kind of thing you'd probably skip over in a movie on a rewatch. But maybe that was the whole point. I think that's why it mattered so much. For all the reasons this trip wasn't my favorite, it became the perfect ending. Because endings in life aren't usually neat or beautiful or tied up with a pink bow and sent off with fireworks. They're quiet and imperfect, and sometimes they just fizzle out. That's what Tennessee was for me. The trip itself didn't change me in any significant ways, but it did show me that the wandering was over, that it was time for me to move on. Closure is a tricky thing. It's something you often want but rarely get, and even when it's looking you dead in the eye, you don't always recognize it. I know I didn't at the time. Looking back, Tennessee wasn't the trip that I really wanted, but it was the ending that I needed. "450 days ago, if you told me I would road trip to Utah and Colorado, that I would fly to California for my first time, that I would drive 16 hours and over 2,000 miles for a film festival in Texas, that along the way I would make amazing new friends, that I would get the phone number of one of my heroes, that I would be going back to college as a biology major, or that I only made 2 YouTube videos in that time, I would not have believed you for a heartbeat. The last 15 months didn't go exactly how I thought they would. They weren't even close. But in a weird way, everything worked out perfectly. In August, I moved back into my college dorm. It was bittersweet, if I'm honest. The gap year was finally coming to an end, and I was back on campus, which I thought I had left behind for good. If you were to take anything away from this video, I want it to be this. If you are considering taking a gap year and are in a position to do so reasonably, then I think you should. I set out on this gap year with 3 goals in mind. I wanted to meet new people, I wanted to do new things, and I wanted to figure out who I am. The big idea was to get out of my comfort zone. And while most days didn't feel extraordinary and many moments weren't worth filming, the quiet days changed me just as much as the loud ones did. The gap year is over now. I'm back on campus again. I took my first exam. I wrote my first paper. I even joined a club. And part of me wishes I could have stayed on the gap year forever. But I know it's for the best that I didn't. Because after all good things must come to an end.
Even if you don't mind, no.